At Fina, you've got a friend.
Did you know that there's a frozen pizza that has 50% more toppings than Domino's or Pizza Hut pizza? And twice the toppings of our regular frozen pizza? It's called Twice Top Tony's Pizza because it's piled high with real cheese, sausage, pepperoni, and the finest vegetables. So when you're in the freezer section at your store, look for Twice Top Tony's Pizza. We're doing all we can to help you remember the name. Twice Top Tony's Pizza.
You're watching KSTP-TV, Minnesota's News Channel 5.
Live from Minnesota's news channel, KSTP Channel 5. Stan Turner, Ruth Spencer, Dave Dole, and Mark Curtis bring you the Eyewitness News Update.
Good evening, everyone. Well, the national political spotlight shines on Minnesota tonight in the state's presidential caucuses.
Yes, it's the last big test for the candidates before the Super Tuesday primaries throughout the South and crucial to the survival of some campaigns. What's new tonight is the instant feedback on presidential preferences from the caucuses, something the Democrats and Republicans have never before tried to measure the very night of the caucuses. Well, Pat Milan joins us live now from where all the numbers are coming together. How's it going so far, Pat?
Well, it's going amazingly well, Stan. You know, when you put a new system together, you sometimes wonder what will happen. Never have we had numbers that came in the same night where we had concrete evidence about who was leading and where. And tonight we have that for the first time. It's history, and let's take a look at it first. Let's go to the independent Republicans. You can see there Dole with leading 41%, Robertson with 31%, Jack Kemp at 14%, George Bush an amazingly bad 10% here in Minnesota, and with 3% uncommitted. Now that is 49% of the precincts here in the statewide reporting. Now, we can tell you in the Democratic race, there really is no surprise. We have the numbers. Michael Dukakis had the campaign. He spent the money, and it's showing up. Let's take a look at the boards now there. In the DFL race, Michael Dukakis, 33%. He's been projected by the network to be the winner here. There is Paul Simon at 20%. We all know he was expecting, hopefully, to win here, and he apparently will not. Jesse Jackson at 19%. 17% is uncommitted, and there is a large sector of people who were not ready to pick a candidate tonight. Dick Gephardt, Al Gore, and Gary Hart at the bottom of the pack. That's where we stand on the numbers right now. I can tell you it's been interesting, Stan and Ruth, to watch them come in, watch this system work. In the past, Stan, you know, and when you were a political reporter here with that beat, that people would just come up and claim victory. You'd have 3 or 4 people claiming it during the night, and you never really knew for about 6 months who really had won. But tonight, the numbers are concrete. Those are true reports of what's happening in the caucuses throughout Minnesota.
That's right, Pat. Before this new system was in place, we had to wait till the dog sleds got in from the northern woods. Took days sometimes.
Well, we should give a hand then to Joan
Groh. So far, so good for Joan Groh and her system.
Yes, it's working. You know, when you have a computer system working on something like this, when you're a reporter, you're negative many times. So I was just standing around waiting for it to crash, and I can report it has not.
Pat, real quickly, can his people take heart in his showing so far tonight here? He
said that it's too close to call, and we can tell you that by looking at our numbers, it certainly doesn't appear that way. I have heard his campaign manager tonight say that they intend to go on to Super Tuesday, and they intend to go from there on to Illinois. That's his home ground. Right. He's going to try and survive at least that far.
All right, Pat, we'll check with you
go on to Illinois. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. The Democrats and the Republicans in South Dakota are making their presidential preferences known as well tonight. In the South Dakota primary, the Democrats picked Missouri Congressman Richard Gephardt over his closest rival there, Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. On the Republican side, Kansas Senator Bob Dole overwhelmed both Pat Robertson and George Bush to win South Dakota. Now, the only presidential candidate actually in Minnesota tonight is Bob Dole, the apparent Republican winner, and that may be because he expected a big win. He's about to celebrate, as you can imagine. So let's go live now to Angela Astor, who's at the Dole party headquarters in Bloomington. Angela?
Ruth and Stan, campaign staffers are calling it a double whammy, and they're talking about Senator Dole's victories in both South Dakota and Minnesota tonight. As you can imagine, the dozens of Dole supporters who've gathered here in the ballroom of the Radisson South are ecstatic. Now, Senator Dole spent a lot of time and money here in Minnesota, and it has apparently paid off. He has had a busy day today. He was in Mankato earlier, then he flew to Missouri and Oklahoma and South Dakota. He gave a victory speech in South Dakota, I'm told, and he is coming to Minnesota. He was expected to be here right about now, but he is running late, so we're standing by waiting for him to arrive, and as soon as he gets here, we're going to bring you his comments live. Stan and Ruth?
All right.
Thank you, Angela. Back to you soon. Many of the local campaigners for the presidential candidates are watching caucus returns tonight from KTCA television, and Kevin Berger is with them tonight. Kevin, what's going on there?
Good evening, Stan. a lot of people here are watching the Republican race, and one of those people who is quite pleased with what she's seeing is Marlene Alwell. She's the Robertson Regional Political Director. Robertson is a strong second. Your feelings about that, ma'am?
I'm excited. This is a happy day and a happy evening for the Robertson campaign.
Did you really think you'd come in second?
Well, we certainly worked hard enough, and we're thrilled with it.
What does this do to the campaign as you go into Super Tuesday?
It gives us the momentum to go into the South, and we clearly have a candidate that reaches out to all the American people.
Jack Kemp was expected to do quite well in Minnesota. He's been organized here for years and was a favorite with the party regulars, and yet he is coming in third after Pat Robertson. Do you think that you're taking the people that ordinarily would have gone with the Kemp campaign?
Yes, we clearly have penetrated his base, and in addition to that, we've brought new people into the party, so we're very excited about that.
And some of the people who are caucusing for Robertson tonight, were those new people?
Yes.
Okay. Also on the second place finish on the Democrat right now, according to the numbers, is Paul Simon. However, the senator from Illinois' spokespeople are saying that the entrance polling that they did shows that they're running neck and neck with Michael Dukakis. However, a spokesman for Michael Dukakis, Pat Forcia, who's been the Dukakis chairman here in Minnesota, has just claimed victory. So we're going to have to wait until we get some more of those numbers in to be exactly sure who is on top on the Democratic side, because both sides are claiming that right now. Stan and Ruth?
Kevin, there was a lot of talk about DFLers crossing over to vote for Robertson tonight. Any idea about that?
They believe that that is happening. The Robertson people do say that that's happening, and they say that they've seen a number of black people who otherwise would usually vote Democrat who have also crossed over. They're seeing some other minorities cross over to vote for Robertson. That is what they are estimating is happening.
Very good, Kevin. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Well, tonight, the supporters of Democrat Michael Dukakis are watching the caucus returns at River Place. That's where our Mark Sapels is right now, standing by, and he's ready to tell us what's happening there. Mark.
Stan and Ruth, you know, Mike Dukakis is kind of described as an unemotional, very calm candidate. His supporters kind of reflect that same image. When there was an early return back that projected Mr. Dukakis as the winner in this state, there was kind of a polite, almost expectant applause. Well, maybe it is expected because of the money and the organization that he has in this state, but again, it is a good sign at this point. Let me bring in Claudia Ryan. Mr. Dukakis is not here. He's in New York tonight. Ms. Ryan is running this show here. Let me ask you this. Although the numbers say Mr. Dukakis is ahead, the Simon camp says that they've run their own poll and that they're going to stay neck and neck by the time this is all over. What do you say to that?
We are feeling terrific right now. With 16% in and Governor Dukakis having 33% of the vote, we are optimistic and we're quite convinced we're going to show real well today.
Say there is a win tonight, Claudia. What does Minnesota mean to the Dukakis campaign? How does it fit in?
I think it means an awful lot. I think Minnesota has a well-organized campaign. Both Pat and Kathy Forcia have worked real hard at getting it organized, and I think this shows that Michael Dukakis is not a candidate just in New England. He's a national candidate.
He has fared well in a neutral state. That's the story from here. Back to you, Stan and Ruth.
Very good, Mark.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, you have to ask the question, just what is this grassroots political process we call the Minnesota caucuses? Well, tonight, Dave Andrews followed one St. Paul woman as she attended her first ever political caucus and found out how it works.
41-year-old Maxine Dillard was one of the first to sign in tonight at the Ward 3 Precinct 6 Democratic Caucus in St. Paul.
Thank you.
An assembly worker at the Ford truck plant, Maxine has never been actively involved in politics, and everything was new to her tonight.
Do you know anything about this lady?
No, I don't.
She has some good things to say on that, if she's sincere.
Maxine went to the caucus tonight because her friends and relatives convinced her to work for Jesse Jackson. She is even going to try to get elected as a Jackson delegate to the state convention later this year. An hour into tonight's meeting, she headed for the Jackson sub-caucus, as the precinct caucus goers broke up into groups aligned with one candidate or another.
The next 4 years are going to be tough years, and we need somebody who can inspire the people. And Jackson can inspire the people, and that's why I'm here for Jackson, and that's why my son's here.
He's pro-labor, and I'm labor. And anybody that's, for me having a job as a woman where I can make just as much money as anybody else and not being harassed, that's it. Jackson.
So Maxine Dillard is now a full-fledged member of grassroots politics here in Minnesota. She says she still has a lot more questions than answers, but judging from the enthusiasm she showed, tonight's caucus will probably be just her first of many. In St. Paul, I'm Dave Andrews, Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
This, of course, is the night for the numbers, who's winning and who's not. We have some breakdowns now for you by geography around the state on the caucus voting so far. In outstate Minnesota, there you see it with about 2/3 of the precincts now reporting. You can see that Robert Dole, the front runner statewide, has a good lead there, and Robertson behind. And again, we say 2/3 reporting here. On outstate Minnesota, this encompasses southeastern and southwestern Minnesota and just north of the Twin Cities. Up on the Iron Range, where Republicans are said to be about as scarce as kangaroos, once again, well, Robertson is doing well there. Dole, 28% second there with 30%, just about 1/3 of the precincts reporting up on the Iron Range. Now, here in the metro area, with a little over 1/3 of the precincts in now, it is Dole in the #1 position with Robertson running a strong second as he has statewide tonight. On the DFL side of things in the precinct caucuses tonight, we can have a look at those next. In the outstate area, with only a handful of precincts reporting right now, Dukakis leading Jackson, who is in second place, and placing third, uncommitted. There's been a big block of uncommitted delegates so far tonight on the DFL side of things. Up on the Iron Range on the DFL, this has always been DFL territory, and there Jackson is faring surprisingly well over the Dukakis people. At least they'll be surprised by that. Dukakis in second place, uncommitted, that large block there, still #3. And in the metro area, in the Twin Cities area, traditionally DFL territory, Dukakis the winner, placing second Jackson, again uncommitted, 20%.
Let us turn right now to a longtime observer and analyst of Minnesota politics, DJ Leary, who joins us now from our newsroom. DJ, always a pleasure to see you. Can you give us some of the why behind the wherefore, sir?
Well, I think more than the why is to look at what we're really seeing there. The surprising person that we haven't heard from are any of the supporters. We've heard the Simon people claim victory. We've heard the Dukakis people claim victory. But the Jackson people are the ones that got a lot to celebrate here tonight. I think when these numbers filter out, given what we've seen in these regional breakouts, that Jackson will be the one that will be cheering the loudest and will come out of one of these northern states before Super Tuesday in the South with some big numbers here in Minnesota.
You know, DJ, Bush did very poorly tonight, and although he kind of snubbed Minnesota, he never really came here. Don't you think he should have done a little bit better?
Well, we were working with Sims Research over the weekend, and we were seeing tracking surges for Bush over the weekend, and my reflection on it going back, if we were counting the right people, was that they were misleading us because it looks like those numbers went instead for Robertson, and it has been a trait of Robertson supporters not to really indicate that they're going to be around and kind of surprise everybody with a little ambush caucus on caucus night.
Well, DJ, Robertson, his people are good at the grassroots. They obviously have attracted new people into the political process. And what about defectors from the DFL, especially on the abortion issue?
Well, I think that happened long before Tuesday night, February 23rd, 1988. I think it dates back probably after 1978. We saw those swings from the DFL to the independent Republican in Minnesota over the abortion issue primarily, and that was the kind of the seeds that were in the ground to start the caucus procedures in 1982, where the evangelical fundamentalist Christians in the independent Republican took over the control of the party.
And it paid off for them tonight. Thank you, DJ.
Right, thanks,
Thank
DJ.
you.
We'll perhaps check with you a little bit later, and we'll bring you, of course, more results as they come during this newscast. There are other things happening this day. The flight attendants at Northwest Airlines still talking about a walkout come Friday.
Yes, we're going to explain why that has people in cities like Duluth very worried tonight. Stay tuned.
There's one store where you get an award-winning combination
of price,
quality,
and choice every day.
So go for the gold.
With gold medal savings now at Mills Fleet Farm.
Shop our lighting department for affordable quality Diamond F fixtures.
The oak light bar is only $12.99. The bedroom ceiling light just $3.59.
And there's the Humminbird LCR 4ID fish locator. Advanced display shows the fish in color. Now only $299.99.
So save record-setting amounts of green
while you go for the gold now at Mills Fleet Farm.
Announcing Highland Superstore's Super Sale, a sale where prices on many items are marked down so low some people won't let anything stand in their way to get there. Get this RCA VHS video recorder with wireless remote, just $198. So no matter how you get there, get there.
Mr. Kreppel. But where's Mrs. Kreppel?
Highland Super Sale, now through Wednesday only.
Honey, the microwaves are over here, see?
When you're driving for the gold, you go all out. And right now, your Lincoln Mercury dealers celebrate that same spirit with their Drive for the Gold event. An all-out effort to win your business with up to $1,000 customer cash on select models. The aerodynamic Mercury Sable. the sleek Mercury Cougar, the sporty Mercury Topaz, and other great values. Drive for the gold. See your Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
In the land of Dairy Queen. At Dairy Queen, an American original, our home-style double burger is on sale for just 99 cents. With not one, but two big patties that look, cook, and taste like homemade. Double thick, double juicy for just 99 cents.
Why, that's the biggest double burger for less than $1 I've ever seen.
The 99-cent home-style double burger sale at Dairy Queen, an American original.
We treat you right.
Here's the Eyewitness News market survey for tonight. On Wall Street, the Dow rose just over a point to close at 2041.61. Among local stocks, Medtronics was up $2.88 and MEI Diversified fell 25 cents.
No school tomorrow for Elk River kids. Striking teachers plan to walk the picket lines again, just as they did this morning. It's the first strike ever by Elk River teachers. About 5,700 students are out of school because of that strike. The contract dispute includes pay, more class preparation time, and better health benefits.
It hasn't come to a strike yet in a dispute between Northwest and its flight attendants. The contract talks that began in Eagan this morning are scheduled to resume tomorrow. If a contract isn't approved, flight attendants could be walking the picket line in a little more than 72 hours.
Some Minnesota towns are wondering what effect a Northwest strike might have on their air service. The airline has promised to replace many of the attendants with management personnel if a strike happens. John Wingate reports some fear the first cutbacks in service may come on short commuter hops, often the only air service for smaller communities.
There are 8 flights a day in and out of Duluth, all by Northwest Airlines. The planes move a lot of travelers, more than 200,000 last year. Half of the flights are on small 18-seat planes leased by Northwest. The bulk of passengers fly full-sized aircraft, staffed with union attendants who could strike Friday night. That has airport leaders uneasy.
I would suspect that there may be some consolidation of flights, since we do have open seats in Duluth on some flights. And this, of course, is unfortunate. It gives the traveler a few less choices at times.
Business and industry relies heavily on the city's only airline. That's why Chamber of Commerce Director Chuck House is hoping the vital travel link is not upset by a strike.
I think it'll have a major adverse effect. I think it'll slow things down a lot for people.
Businessman Vic Slag flies Northwest every week. He says a strike might throw his travel schedule into turmoil.
About the only thing you can do is allow more leeway. Maybe go in the night before and hope you're there, earlier in the morning, or plan to stay out an extra day just to compensate for it. It adds expense.
A contingent of Duluth Chamber of Commerce leaders have flown to the Twin Cities to meet with Northwest. The original purpose of the session was to discuss the airline's future in Duluth. Now a strike threat has changed the agenda. Mayor John Fido.
The unknown, of course, is where the labor situation is going to take us.
Officials plan to press the airline to try to find out what effect an attendance strike might have on the communities of greater Minnesota. Communities still dependent on only one airline and concerned about its future. John Wingate, Channel 5 Eyewitness News, Duluth.
And so far, Northwest has said only there will be some changes in service in the event of a strike. No specifics have been released, although the airline says it does have a plan on paper.
Let us go back now to Pat Milan in St. Paul, where they're gathering results from tonight's all-important Minnesota caucuses. Pat, any changes since we last checked in with you?
Well, let's take a look at them, as a matter of fact. Let's go to the independent Republican numbers, and we do have a projected winner there, and that is Bob Dole. We can take a look at the latest numbers we have, and my understanding is that Bob Dole is a projected winner with 42%. Now, this is with 56% of the vote in now. Pat Robertson, a very strong second, 30% there, and there go Kemp Bush and the uncommitted slate. In the DFL race, we also have a committed, a projected winner. That is Michael Dukakis, 34% for him. Paul Simon behind at 19 and is not ready to throw in the towel yet. Jesse Jackson at 18%, and as you mentioned earlier, had a very strong showing up north. Stan and Ruth?
All right, Pat. Thank you very much. Back to you later.
Coming up, Dave Dole is here on the update with the Wednesday weather.
Yes, and then a bit later, well, Mark Curtis brings you tonight's highlights live from the Winter Olympics in Calgary.
There must be over 100 car dealers in the Twin City area. You have to wonder, why do people choose one over another? People are choosing Midway Chevrolet to save money with cash rebates up to $1,200 from Chevrolet. You save on Cavalier, Celebrity, Corsica, Beretta, and up to $1,200 cash back on Nova. I'll see to it that you're satisfied with your new purchase at Midway Chevrolet. You have my word on that.
Midway Chev, University Avenue, St. Paul.
Good night, hon.
Why is it that after a couple of years,
Good night, hon.
your mattress sags and sags?
Good night, hon.
Because it's not a beauty rest. Our unique barrel-shaped coils of high-carbon steel are pre-compressed to eliminate sag, to give you a firm, comfortable mattress that can't sag, so that your beauty rest
Good night, hon.
will stay as firm as the day you bought it. Beauty Rest by Simmons. Forever firm.
No payments on Simmons bedding until August 88 during Dayton's home sale. Sale ends February 29.
Imagine a place you could go to find help with your investment opportunities, retirement planning, insurance, credit lines, and mortgages. A place with more services than you'd expect from a bank and more help than you'd expect from a banker. It may be the last place you'd look, but it's the place you should come in first.
If I were the big cheese at CarX, I'd come up with an offer so big, customers would flock to CarX in droves. You could not physically resist this offer. So you know what I'd do? I don't know what I'd do.
It's hard to resist the grand opening offer at CarX. Get a lifetime guaranteed muffler for as low as $13. And to win season tickets, enter our Win the Twins sweepstakes.
Great offer. Glad I thought of it.
Well, David and I are celebrating an anniversary tonight. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
What is this?
We were right here 10 years ago.
Were we?
Yeah,
yeah
10 years ago
sure
on this night, 7 o'clock.
I wasn't.
It ended the longest streak below freezing here in the Twin Cities. It can get cold, as we have found out the last week and a half here in the metro, this time of the year. And this did end a very long cold streak of 66 days below freezing. And that ended at 7 o'clock on this day in 1978. And that's the longest record of consecutive days below freezing here in the metro, and it still stands. The 5 first forecast for tonight still has temperatures below freezing overnight tonight, but still above zero. 5 to 10 for overnight lows. Partly cloudy skies, maybe a flurry or two in the air. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, we should have a partly cloudy sky and a temperature at morning right around 9 above. A little bit of sunshine popping through. Then in the afternoon, more sunshine, but those clouds gradually thickening up. Some flurries late in the afternoon, 18 to 22 for highs. Northwest winds at 10 to 20, still creating wind chills down around zero, even in the late afternoon. Outside at the airport right now, we have a partly cloudy sky. Our temperature's sitting at 17, the dew point 8, 67% for the relative humidity, a west wind at 13, and the barometric pressure steady. 30.04. Today's high temperature climbed up to 21. That's 8 shy of the average for the date. Way shy of the record set back in 1958. 10 this morning's low, and a trace of snowfall, some light flurries out at the airport officially. Tomorrow's weather maker is going to be simple. It's going to be a weak area of low pressure, a low pressure trough up to the north of us through southern Canada. And as that drops in our direction, it's going to cause the temperature to stay right about where we were today, almost a carbon copy, a high near 20. Up in Calgary, just about like what they had today. Light winds, that's good news. High temperature near 30. For the northern part of Minnesota, for tomorrow, they have light snow and flurries in there. High temperatures right up around 10. For the southern part of our state, we're going to have maybe some flurries late in the afternoon as those clouds thicken up. And a high temperature near 20 again for western Wisconsin. Partly sunny. Those clouds will thicken as well, but high temperatures there should be in the teens. Looking ahead then a little bit further, we have a high near 20 tomorrow. Teens, though, on Thursday, but back up into the 20s for Friday, 30 for Saturday, and maybe close to 40 on Sundays. We really start to warm up, and that 3 inches of snow that we have on the ground will probably disappear by early next week.
Okay, David, that's a pretty good shake.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right.
Let's go north now to Calgary, live via News Star, where Mark Curtis has more on the Winter Olympics there. Mark?
Ruth, coming up in sports, the Eagle landed safely today, and we'll introduce you to the man behind Jill Trinery. Those stories and more coming up next in sports.
Good morning. Well, it's a great day if you're into traffic.
Introducing the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Once you've driven it, everything else is just traffic.
Remco wants you, Ruth Werfel, to own this new refrigerator you need.
I can't afford this.
With Remco, you can afford it. You want to own, right?
Yeah.
Remco's helped hundreds of thousands of people just like you own. We make owning easy, like with affordable payment plans. You don't just rent, you rent to own.
Then I'm taking my new refrigerator home.
TVs, stereos, appliances, furniture. It's all within your reach at Remco. Call now.
I wish Grandpa was here. Wonder why he had to see the doctor.
Hey, been doing any fishing this year, Phil?
Ah, you bet. At Group Health, we believe in taking care of little things before they become big things. And you'll get the finest personal attention from your own doctor.
Everything's okay. We caught it in time.
Hey, pal, how they biting?
Grandpa!
Group Health. Quality health care for life.
There's nothing like Pizza Hut Pan Pizza.
Making it thick, making it tall, making it splash and having it all. Making it heat, making it deep. Sizzle and drizzle, steam and teaming. Making it early, making it late. Pizza Hut, making it great.
The great taste of pan pizza. 2 layers of cheese, lots of toppings, and a chewy crust. It's America's favorite.
Pizza Hut, making it great.
Welcome back to Calgary, everybody. Tomorrow, the showdown begins in women's figure skating, and it basically comes down to this. East Germany's Katharina Witt against any one of 3 Americans, Debbie Thomas, Karen Kadavy, or, of course, Minnetonka's own Jill Trenery. Now, here are some shots of Trenery putting the finishing touches on her program. Tomorrow, she'll skate the compulsories, which will be the first of 3 steps towards a possible gold medal. Trenery told us tonight she just wants to get this thing going.
Once we really do get started and we start, getting like the first portion done, it'll be easier because I'll have more of a feeling of how I'm doing, and I'm just, I have no idea what's going to happen, so it's tiring wondering all the time.
Now, what does the future hold for Trenery? Well, one thing's for certain, she has had the right training, and certainly she has had the right coach. Look at some of the people who have trained under Carlo Fassi. Peggy Fleming, Dorothy Hamill, and who knows, maybe the next superstar of this sport, Jill Trenery. But what is it about Carlo Fassi that makes him so great? Rob Lear recently spent some time with him and has this look at the man behind the champions.
Like Calgary, Colorado is home to the Rocky Mountains. It's also been the home base for one of figure skating's top coaches, Carlo Fassi, who's helped take many Olympic hopefuls all the way to the top.
Up, in.
On the ice, Carlo Fassi is like an old-fashioned school teacher. The stern look, the command for respect, and the undivided attention of his pupils. Fassi's lesson plans are strict, but do your homework and you graduate at the top of your class.
Now watch her drop it down in a move that she invented called a Hamel Camel, taps the foot on the ice and into a back dip, and she has done it, I am sure.
The ice rink has been a golden pond for this retired Italian champion. Dorothy Hamill and Peggy Fleming have been his most notable stars in a galaxy of skating success.
He has always worked with the best qualities in each individual, and I think has been very successful. He started out with me and then moved on to Dorothy and then John Curry and then Robin Cousins, and we're waiting to see the next.
Minnetonka's Jill Trenery is hoping her turn is next. Trenery caught the eye of the master 4 years ago. What got Fassi's attention was Jill's resemblance to Hamill, and he doesn't hesitate to group them in the same class.
I think she's better than Dorothy in one way. She has a much more will to compete.
He's so experienced, and he knows the ropes, and he knows how to handle like the judges. Politically, he's very strong.
And add another name to Fassi's golden graduating class. At the Winter Games in Calgary, I'm Rob Lear for Channel 5 Eyewitness News.
Right now we have a new development in the Minnesota Caucasus, so we'll go to Angela's store at Dole headquarters. Angela?
As you can see, Senator Dole has finally arrived in the ballroom here at the Radisson South Hotel in Bloomington, and he is going to address his supporters. They're all cheering for him, waving yellow hankies with the word Dole written all over it. That is a very happy man tonight.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I really, I can't believe I left Mankato this morning, been to Oklahoma and Missouri, South Dakota, and back in Minnesota.
Well, you're one of us now.
Yeah, Bob Dole is one of us, or whatever that is, yeah. But let me say how pleased I am and the fantastic progress we've made in this state. I remember coming up here, many, many months ago and looking around, and I was told, well, you're probably too late. A lot of candidates have been here, and they've picked off a lot of very good people, and but let's see what we can do. And then with all the people behind me here and others, Connie, who can't be here because of her father's illness, and just a lot of people got together, some who hadn't worked together in Republican campaigns for a while. Yeah, right. So, you know, Republicans, that's what it's all about, yeah, independent Republicans. I've just left Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where we think we got every delegate in that state. Now, I've said from the start that I'm a national candidate, that I'm a broad-based candidate, that I want to attract more and more people into this Republican Party of ours. And the only way to do it is to work at it, day after day after day. And I must say, when I wasn't working, we had volunteers all over this state. And I want to thank Mike and Floyd Brown and all the other staff people who just worked and worked and made it work. I just talked to Elizabeth, and she's in somewhere in Illinois. I didn't get to town, but she's working, and she's been here a number of times. And I hope this sends a message. Some said, oh, well, South Dakota, it's just another state. Minnesota's just another state. Well, Iowa's just another state. Kansas just another state. We want... They're all very important states. That's the point I would make. And I hope we send a message that Bob Dole has a message. That's what the election's all about. I haven't changed my message. I've talked about the future. I've talked about leadership. I've talked about party responsibilities. I've talked about the left out and the down and out in America. I've talked about the future of our young people. In fact, I said this morning in Mankato, the future's right in front of me. Young men and young women. And that is the future. And I've said from the start that I believe leadership and making a difference, not what you say, but what you've done, and looking at the record. And I believe the record reflects that Bob Dole, many, many times, has made a difference that impacts on people all over America, regardless of party, regardless of race, color, creed, or economic status. And that's what America's all about. That's it. That's the American dream. And so I would just say, as I leave tomorrow morning and head for South Carolina, where Senator Thurman pulled a little surprise this week and endorsed me, and that... He was a little hesitant, you know, he's only 85 and he's gearing up to run again in 1990. And didn't want my campaign to interfere with his. But I guess I just thank Cal for myself, and he thanks all the others, and I thank all the others, and thank all the people who went to caucuses. I kept hearing on the radio in Sioux Falls as we're headed to the airport about all the Republicans. That's where all the excitement was tonight. On every radio station around the country, all the Republicans going to the caucuses. How the DFLers had finished early. And I don't mean totally, but I mean, their caucuses had finished early. There weren't many people there, and they were talking about hundreds of people showing up on the Republican side. And I would say to all those who may have been for somebody else,
Senator Bob Dole reveling in his victory here tonight. Dole is the only candidate in Minnesota tonight, and there is good reason why he's here. Political analysts say he wants to maximize the value of winning in Minnesota and taking the spotlight in the nightly news programs. Stan and Ruth?
Thank you very much, Angela. Dole's people saying he scored the double whammy tonight, winning the South Dakota primary and the Minnesota caucuses.
So momentum now from New Hampshire and on to the South.
Righto. We will have more for you in just a moment.
Hey, great looking suit. Must be nice to be rich, huh? Not rich, just smart. Buy all my clothes at Kuppenheimer.
Yeah, isn't Kuppenheimer great? I got this all-wool suit with pleated pants for just $195.
$195? This wool blend suit only cost me $165.
No, how's that possible?
I don't know.
Well, I hear it's because they make their own clothes and sell them just in their own stores.
More coffee, Mr. Kuppenheimer?
Don't mind if I do.